Well, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Riddal Viley. Viddal, right? I might even get it right in a minute. And
That's a good start. It's a good start. It's a good start.
It's a spoonerism, as they call it. It's great to see you. You're looking fantastic. You always do. You're always a giant physically when I see you. How's it going? It's been a while. How are things with you?
Things are good, man. Things are good. I'm motivated more than ever. I feel like I had a period in my life where, you know, when I was training KSI and I got my little rise to fame, you could call it, that, you know, I was really taking everything in and was just shocked at, you know, how much I really could achieve without me actually throwing punches. And I managed to develop into a position where I was like, wow, I'm comfortable a lot earlier than I thought I would be. But with my personality, that only can last for so long before I'm ready for the next challenge and the next stage. And now it's time for me to throw the hands and again reach that new level where I think I belong. And right now I'm not there. That doesn't mean that I'm upset about it. It just means I know I got more in me and I'm just ready to deliver it now.
You mentioned KSI there, and for those watching this is the first in a 4-part series I'm going to be doing with Viddal, leading to his fight. February the 19th, of course, Manchester, Khan and Brook. If one of them pulls out, you might be headlining. You never know. But we're going to talk about KSI in another episode. By the way, anyone watching this, and I will repeat it on all of these, watch the brilliant documentary on Amazon. It's absolutely phenomenal. It shows a lot of you as well. You know, obviously it's about him, but it shows a lot of you and what you have inside you. And it's that I wanted to talk to you about today. I want to take you back to the beginning. Like, where are you from? How did you grow up? Were you from the mean streets? Where did you get your balance from? What was life like for young Viddal Riley growing up?
Young Viddal Riley. I was born in Hackney, East London. I lived there until I was 8 years old. Whilst I was living in Hackney, I started boxing actually at age 6. I went to Repton Amateur Boxing Club. For those that don't know, you know, very prestigious club. It was local to me, and that's where I first went to get in to the sport of boxing. I was training at home with my dad. You know, he was teaching me everything, and then he said, "All right, it's ready. It's your time to step into the gym." So Repton was the first gym that I stepped into, age 6. I moved to Tottenham, Northeast London, when I was 9 years old. And from there, boxing continued. And it was just a major part of my life, you know, looking around, the surroundings I was growing up in, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best, but it molds you. It molds you. You know, a lot of people like to focus on the negatives of growing up in poverty or growing up around, you know, drug dealing, gang fights, but all of those things, when you know how to maneuver around them, it still absorbs into your personality and still gives you that grit and that toughness to pursue anything in life. If you can live through that and get through that, then of course you want better for yourself, and of course it will motivate you to say, I got more in me than this. I don't want to be like everyone around me. As much as I respect them, this isn't my path. And so boxing continued for me. I boxed my first few amateur fights for Newham, ABC, which was a good point for me. That's where I won my first national title. And then when I moved on to the rest of my championships, the rest of my amateur career, internationally, domestically, it was all with West Ham Amateur Boxing Club, which is where I found my place and where I feel my heart has settled. And I went on to—
You went east, north, east again, basically.
Yep, that's exactly what I've done. And I won 8 national titles as an amateur, 7 of which was with West Ham. European junior medal, silver, you know, represented England countless times, Team GB in the Youth Olympics. So I really stayed on the path of what I was building from a 6-year-old. And I feel my parents, my family, my friends, it all contributes towards my character. A lot of self-learning as well. As a child, you want your information to come always from an external source. You don't really know where to get it yourself. As you grow, you read, you watch, you develop more, and it all comes together the lessons from the people around you and what you're self-taught, and that's why I am who I am today.
It's all about experiences, isn't it?
It is.
Let me take you back on a couple of those things. So
yeah.
Dad was clearly into boxing, or did he want you to look after yourself? How did that manifest itself?
He used to box.
Who are mum and dad, and what about siblings?
So my mum, hard worker, not into the sporting side of things, but she crunched down on me educational wise. Like educational wise, she was on my case, whether it's how to carry myself, just to be able to speak to you in front of the camera and, you know, not stumble across many words and build that confidence to put myself out into the world. That definitely comes from my mother. And then the skill that we see and the rough side of me, I like to call it, the no nonsense side of me, definitely comes from my dad. He used to fight himself. I didn't get to see much of his career. I only got to see one fight, and I was really young when I saw that fight. And he was just messing around with me at home just because he's into boxing himself. And he said, from what you've done, just naturally, from your instincts and how you was picking up what I was saying, he said, you can do this. Like, you actually can be a world champion. He started off with national champion. He always used to say to me, you can be a national champion, you can be a national champion. And by the time I was 12 years old, I achieved it. I was like, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about, you know? And
did you fight on the streets, Viddal, or not? Did you, even as a little kid?
Not really.
You didn't have to, because you've done boxing so early. You had that confidence.
Yeah. And it was,
no one touched you.
You know, yeah, it was a thing people knew, and you know, at that age, no one's really specializing in anything. You know, everyone's a child, everyone's a kid. We're just running around doing what we do. But then when you hear there's this one kid who actually focuses on a sport that can harm another person, you kind of get left alone. You know, you have the few people who want to challenge you for that reason and prove, no matter how much training he does, I'm still stronger than him. So of course you're getting a few fights here and there, but overall, again, leading back to my mum, she's taught me well how to diffuse the situation and avoid a situation rather than having to battle through every single one. So not many street fights for me, but they weren't needed.
And what about brothers and sisters then? Are they sporting?
Sister,
and I want to ask as well, did you must have played a bit of soccer, a bit of football as well growing up?
Oh, of course. I don't think you could grow up in England and not want to even be a footballer at some stage in your childhood. There was definitely a time where I thought, okay, boxing's cool, but I can play football. Like, I want to play football. And you know, you go through that phase. I think it's such an influential sport for us, and it's the most dominating sport in the world, you know, the most watched sport in the world. So I guess it will grab your attention, and especially when people like Henry are in the Premiership, and you know, it just, everyone's screaming the names in school. Everyone wants to score a goal like those players in school, and so of course it does have an impact on you. But I realized the talent and the level that people had in football is what I had in boxing. So there was no point in me trying to waste my time and catch up to those guys when I was already ahead in my chosen area. I have one sibling, just to link back to your question. I have one sibling, my younger sister, 4 years younger than me. And honestly, I couldn't ask for anything more, man. We're really close. We grew up in the same house together. We think similar. I try as an older brother to just guide her and help her along the way and not make some of the mistakes that I've made. And honestly, it did create a balance for me. I think it was really important looking back that I did have another sibling, because I might have been more trouble if I was the lone child.
Right, you brought up a couple of things there, and these are the last couple of questions I'm going to ask you in part one. So what do you mean by you would have been more trouble, or there would have been more problems?
Oh, I would have been in more trouble, because as much as I was always boxing and going to school and keeping my grades up, I feel like sometimes I definitely could lose concentration. I definitely could lose sight of the end goal, which I think is natural for any child lacking maturity.
Could you have gone the wrong way? Could you have gone the wrong way?
100%, 100%. I could have gone the wrong way, especially when I was 17. When I was 17, I actually got arrested and was in quite a few legal troubles, and that was really the turning point in my life where I realized I'm not cut out for this life. It's something I've grown up around, and it's easy to fall into, and you see a lot of people living their day to day in that way. And you know, you think, you get to that point, you get to an age 17, you think you start thinking ahead of yourself, that you can make your own decisions, you know what's best for you. And I did get myself in some troubles, but even before those troubles reached this end, the moment I was in handcuffs is when I said, I'm better than this. Obviously, you have to go through the whole course of things, but at that point, I actually learned my lesson. That's when the realization hit me that this isn't for you. You got more to offer in the world than to be in the position you're in now. And since then, I took boxing more seriously, and we've seen what that's done for me and how my career has transitioned.
Absolutely. ... To be continued.
Yes.
Said Viddal in his final sentence in handcuffs. That's when my life changed.
It's true. No, it's true. That's when my mentality really took a jump, and I said, wow, there's consequences for your actions.
It's not good being captured, is it, basically? And it's your freedom taken suddenly, isn't it? It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, and it's just like, I can't do what I want to do if I'm in this position. I can't achieve what my dad, my parents, my family, my friends believe I can achieve if I'm in this position. And that's when I took boxing seriously. I even stopped for a bit through injury. I wasn't going to come back. And that's when I got in that trouble. And I just said, no, I'm going to get myself back on, and I'm going to stick to it, and I'm going to make the most of it.
That's the end of part one, Viddal, and we're gonna pick
it up. Everyone's gonna be on the edge of their seats.
They are, exactly, and that's the whole idea of this. We're gonna pick it up next Thursday. Yeah, it's great to see you. Look fantastic. You're a brilliant communicator and a brilliant man. We know that. Can't wait to catch up with you next week.
Thank you, Gareth. Appreciate you. Thank you.